decided to take a dedicated approach to improving your poker game. You've worked on pre-flop discipline, adding in some light 3-bets and more value hands like jacks in later positions. You've even started to understand board texture a little better and how to get value with hands less than top pair. And then this guy sits down.
Fair for win.
Okay, 300 each now?
Fair for win, bro.
All of your hard work seems to disappear. In an instant, you are back at square one. What happened? My name is Camillo, and in this video, we're going to discuss 4 reasons why you hate playing with the Maniac. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of what makes these players so unnerving and how to avoid falling into their traps. Let's get started with the first and possibly most important reason. First up, let's talk about uncertainty.
Pepe has 7 deuce, and he is not insta-folding here.
Poker is a game of incomplete information, and uncertainty is part of its charm.
Speaking of putting on a show, boys, Pepe playing the 7 deuce game all by his lonesome.
But when you're up against a wild gambler, that uncertainty skyrockets.
A massive 3-bet. He wants to show this. Don't get it twisted. Pepe wants to end the hand now, and he wants to show the 7 deuce.
Their unpredictable nature leaves them hard to read, leaving you second guessing every move. It's not just about the cards anymore. It's a psychological battle. A lot of people I play with that are perceived as the maniacs are actually good with people in general. They own and operate their own businesses, they have people skills, and they know exactly what they're doing when they ramp up that action. They want to make people feel uncomfortable. They want to push that edge because they're good at navigating who is willing to fight for pots and who's waiting to flop a set before they show him. In live mid to low stakes, most of the money is won from betting for value. That's because the majority of the player pool makes calling mistakes. Bluffing too often is a betting mistake. You'll often hear poker coaches say, most live players don't bluff often enough to ... I'd say that most live players don't bluff often. Full stop. But do you know who does? The Maniac does. The rest of the player pool bluffs so infrequently that the ones that do end up looking like maniacs. That changes the status quo. When the status quo changes, you need to adjust your approach. That means calling down lighter in spots that make you nervous. It's not always going to be fun to make a big hero call, but you are going to get put to the test more and more if you do plan to play in games with deeper buy-ins. Self-awareness can be a superpower at the poker table. As we hit the next 2 points, think about how satisfying it will be to outsmart the wild player that wants to dominate the table. The flip side is not so appealing. If wild players give you trouble and you don't identify why, what's your bankroll going to look like a year from now if you went on tilt every time a maniac sat in your game? Can you really afford to let these players get to you when the rate goes up or the other fun players turn to PLO? I like you. And I believe that self-awareness can unlock your unique superpowers when dealing with a maniac at the poker table. Let's continue. Some maniacs are loud.
No, motherfucker!
And not everybody appreciates that type of energy at the poker room. Etiquette is a guideline more than it is a rule. If you're not familiar with that word etiquette, it refers to a set of conventional rules of personal behavior in polite society, usually in the form of an accepted code of conduct within a particular group. In this case, poker players, right? Poker is a social game. Now, because etiquette relies on implicit collusion, you know, when like you're in a tournament and somebody goes all in, you don't bluff into a dry side pot, that's implicit collusion. Without speaking it out loud, most people implicitly agree to be polite, to act in turn, and respect other people's spaces. But what happens in a poker room where not everyone has the same level of respect for the game or its player? It can be an annoyance. You've held yourself up to a level you thought was expected, and here's the maniac who's loud, rude, taking up more space than they need, or is hitting on anything that moves and holds the game up in the process. Hey, sweetheart, another, can I get another one? What did I get? You forget about me already? Just like all the other women in my life. I'm playing. In my experience, your patience will be tested. Taking the high ground will often yield the best results because the alternative plays right into their hands. If the maniac is so loud and boisterous that they throw you off your game and you make mistakes, who actually wins? Some are intentional with their over-the-top behavior and some are quite oblivious. You would be daft to try and curtail this behavior. If you can't beat them, join them. And if that's not acceptable, take this as an opportunity to exercise your mental game muscles. I've played with some wild players who feel like they are entitled to rub your nose in it when they win a big pot. It's like because they take the worst of it so often that getting money in bad shouldn't matter. They're due. It's their turn. So it leads to a little bit of boasting and antagonizing while they're scooping the pot. Terrible etiquette, yes. Against the rules? No. It's like dropping a Tasmanian devil into the game. Try not to get sucked into that whirlwind of chaos. Do you know what people like? What they subconsciously crave? The one thing that can separate the mediocre from the bright spot? Consistency. A maniac lacks such consistency. The nit is almost always going to play like a nit.
Me, I'm dishonest. And a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly. It's the honest ones you want to watch out for.
But the maniacs could decide to play conservatively on one day versus a different.
Because you can never predict when they're going to do something incredibly stupid.
They can be extremely frustrating because live poker is slow and your sample size is low. I didn't mean to make that rhyme. It's hard to adjust to a guy who doesn't have a game plan. On occasion, this player could raise a flop bet with bottom pair. On another, he could fold top pair by the river. Some wild players can read the room better than you may think, and if they are not a complete degenerate, they may conserve their wildness until the table conditions change or they themselves table change. It's like living in a building where they're doing loud construction. The first day or two, you might try and ignore it, but after a few days, you realize you need a solution. You go online, you find an expensive but highly rated pair of noise-canceling earbuds, only to have the construction cease the day the earbuds are delivered at your doorstep. Accepting that you will not be able to predict how the maniac will play that day is part of the challenge. You either win or you learn.
That's poker, baby.
If you got some value from this video, smash that like button, consider subscribing for more, and I'll see you in the next one.